fifth grade. So today we are coming back together for part 2 of our Features of Effective Essays mini lesson. As you guys know, we're starting a new genre, and just like every other genre study that we've participated in this year, we start out by discussing our criteria or our checklist of what a quality piece of writing in this genre would look like and all the things that it would contain. So, over the last several days, you guys have been reading through a packet of essays that I gave you. There were 7 essays in total, and you were to read 5 of those and to add comments in those Google Docs on features that you notice, things that are working well or that you noticed in all of the essays that you read, so that we could come together in small groups today and discuss what we found. So if you're here in school, you're going to be put into a group of 4 to 5 people, and you'll have one recorder, and you're going to discuss what you noticed. So your comments that you made to those essays that you've been reading. If you're learning at home, you really can't do this, but it's important that you maybe open a Google Doc and create a list of your own so that you can contribute to further class discussions, and you kind of compile all of those comments that you made on those essays into one place. Okay, so again, if you're here at school, then I'm not really sure why you're watching this lesson, because you're going to do this in class with me. But if you're learning from home, I want you to know what we're doing here at school, but what you're going to do is unsubmit the packet of essays that you turned in our writing workshop lesson that was due yesterday. And then you're going to open a Google Doc in one tab, and then open the packet of essays in the other after you've unsubmitted it. And you're going to read through each comment that you made on those essays, and you're going to create a master list of all the things that you notice that the really good, effective essays have. Okay, so when you finish doing this, you should have a list that looks something like this. And honestly, if you're learning at home, I don't care if you use a Google Doc or if you just find a piece of notebook paper. The important thing is that you don't lose it and that you attach it to this lesson when you're done. So when we're done and when you're done, each group or each person who's learning at home should have a list that looks something like this. Here's an example. This is their master list from a group of 4 kiddos. You can use quotes of people who agreed and disagree with your argument. Strong, inviting, and to-the-point lead that explains how essayists feel about the topic or that introduce the topic. In the conclusion, the essayist gives ways that the problem can be solved. The writer states their opinion and backs it with facts. Uses questions, fast pace, cut to the bone. Essay stays on topic and doesn't wander off. The title is strong and inviting. There's a definite I voice. Good transitional words between paragraphs. Typically 8 to 11 paragraphs. So they were looking at the different essays and they noticed that most of them were 8 to 11 paragraphs long. Essayists sometimes have experience that backs their opinion. Make sure there are enough facts so the argument is convincing, and essayists use strong verbs. So this was an example of one group's list. After we're done doing this, so I'll give the groups here at school about 10 or 15 minutes to get together and create their master list. Then we're going to come together as an entire class, and we're going to create a list for us to use. And I've actually kind of started one. If I need to go back in and add it, then I will. But based on kind of what I've seen as I've been walking around or as I've been looking at your comments on your essays, because they were due yesterday, so I got to see some of that. I started a list, and I'm going to go ahead and share that list with you. But please know that we may have to add a few things because some of our class discussions may lead us to things that I didn't see or that came up through discussing amongst their groups. So just keep that in mind. So first thing you need to do is unsubmit that packet of essays, create a Google Doc or get a piece of paper, I don't care, either one, and create your master list. So all the things you noticed about these essays that were effective, and create that master list like the one in this slide. Then go ahead and resubmit that assignment and pause this video while you're doing that. Then you're going to come back.
Sorry, I couldn't.
My Siri on my watch was talking. I apologize. That was very rude of her to interrupt this lesson. However, while you're making your master list, you're going to pause this video. Then you're going to come back, and I want you to see what we do next. This would be done in class after we've had a whole class discussion. So go ahead and pause that video, create your master list, and I'll see you back here in just a minute. All right, so you guys are back. That means you've created your master list either on a Google Doc that you're attaching to this assignment in your work section by creating or adding, or you've created it with paper pencil and you're going to take a picture and add it into a Google Doc and attach it to this assignment. So I can see that you completed this part of the process. And next, we're going to go to this slide. So we're going to get out our ELA reference folders and we're going to update the notes section in the table of contents in our ELA reference folder. It looks something like this. This is where your lessons about using repetition were found. All of these listed here. Now, up until now, I have put those notes in your ELA folder for you. I created that at the beginning of the year so we wouldn't lose any time cutting things out and pasting things in. I just went ahead and added it. But you guys have gotten further than any class. So we're moving on. We are getting into essays. And so what that means is we're going to have to manually add to our table of contents from this point forward, and we're going to have to paste in our notes. I'll give you the notes or we'll write them together in class, but it's really important that we continue this process even though you haven't necessarily had to do the adding part prior to this. So first thing you're going to do is go to your table of contents. Under the entry that says, can a reader see it, hear it, feel it, sensory words, there's a blank line. And you're going to add features of an effective essay. You can copy it right from this video. And then you're going to put page 36 because that's what comes after page 35. Next, you're going to turn to the first clean piece of notebook paper that is in your ELA folder. It comes after page 35, which was not notebook paper. So up in the top right-hand corner, you need to put a 36, okay? Next, you're going to use a glue stick, not liquid glue, because it will make your whole folder stick together, and we don't want that. We want to be able to use our notes. So you're going to use a glue stick and paste in the list that I passed out in class. If you're learning from home, again, I have already started this, so I've attached that document to this mini lesson. Just know that we may have to add to it. You should use this list as we move on as the criteria or the checklist for writing an effective essay. Remember, we're going to be writing in this genre for the next several weeks, so this will come in handy. It's kind of similar to the qualities of an effective memoir, and then of course what we do when we polish prose. We had some of these things in there in that list also. So this is another list for you to use to make sure that what you're doing is quality and that you're including all of the important things. So guys, that's really all I have for you today. Hopefully the things that you found on, in your comments match up to what we have on our master list. I will take a minute and go through this with you. But the main thing is that you get this put in there for when you're ready for it. Okay. So through conversations in class and through looking through comments on essays, here is what we've come up with. Features of effective essays. The essayist has a definite opinion and wants to convince readers. So when you read an essay, you can absolutely tell what that essay is about and how the writer or essayist feels about that topic. They present a balance between opinions and facts, and the facts are evidence to support the opinions. So it's not just random information, it actually supports the essayist's opinions that they're sharing in that essay. Facts are embedded and woven into the essay. They're not listed or presented in isolation. We don't want to hit our readers over the heads with it. We want them to take it in and process it and connect to it. Therefore, we can't just dump it on them all at once. It speaks directly to a reader in a conversational tone. No rambling. The essayist sticks to the subject. It cuts to the bone in order to punch the argument. You are here to make a point. You want people to agree with you, or at the very least, see your point of view and understand your way of thinking. So you got to do that. You got to get right to the point so they understand the argument that you're trying to make. It suggests solutions to a problem, and it explains why or how a solution will work. It tries to convince, inform, or analyze. It provides relevant background information and history. You can't just start talking about something and expect that the general population or people will know what you're talking about unless it's something that is everyday knowledge, okay? And every reader would have a working background of that information. So if you're going off into an area that most people wouldn't understand, then you've got to make sure that you give that reader background in that topic, okay? It describes opposing arguments and it critiques them. You know, one of the ways that we win an argument is by showing people that we have an open mind and that we understand the other side's argument, but this is why our argument is correct or more convincing. Okay, and sometimes we call that a counter argument or rebuttal to a counter argument. So if you hear that language when, you know, if you've written essays before or you've heard teachers talk about it, that's what that is. It uses statistics and hard evidence. There's not a lot of speculation. You want to prove it. You want to be taken seriously. Speculation won't do that. It cites the names and places and dates to support the argument. So if those are relevant to your topic, then you need to include that because it's something that verifies that it's legit for your reader. It uses quotes to support the message. So maybe you go and you see what the experts have to say about that viewpoint, and you include that as support for your viewpoint. It draws on the essayist's personal experience or knowledge. All of these topics, even though you likely will have to do some research to create an effective essay, all of these topics should be about things that you truly are interested in, care about, or have a very strong opinion about. And we'll get to that tomorrow, actually. It asks questions of the reader. You don't want them just to take in your information. You want them to think about it. And one of the ways we get people to think is by asking questions for them to consider and think about. It has a strong I voice, a particular person behind the writing. Your writing should sound like you. You should be aware of who you're writing for, because you don't want to use informal language in an essay, because you're not writing essays for your friends and your classmates. You're writing to inform the general public. And so you want them to take you seriously, and you want to sound educated and well informed, but it still should sound like you in your best educated and well-informed voice. It should have a catchy title that attracts the reader. We don't want labels. Okay, we want to invite them. We want to make them curious. It should have a clear, true, inviting, and to the point lead. It should have a fast pace, but not too fast pace. If we get to the point too soon, we're going to lose our readers. And if we take too long to make our point, then we're going to lose our readers. So this first essay, it's going to be a lot about figuring out what your pace needs to be to convince them of your viewpoint with regards to your topic. Strong diction. That's your vocab, guys. That's the word choice, okay? Crafted and literary. Again, that goes back to it should sound like you, but it should sound like a well-educated and informed you. Short, friendly paragraphs. Friendly to your reader's brain. I've talked to many of you this year about what your brain says to you when you look at a large chunk of text that has very little punctuation, or, a paragraph that goes to half of the page. Your brain is going to tell you, no way, I don't want to take this on. There are not enough places for me to take a break and connect what I'm taking in with what I already have in here for you. So be mindful of that. It should have helpful transitional words to connect paragraphs and ideas. It should have a logical organization that moves a reader along from one point or piece of information to the next. It should have a powerful conclusion that resonates. And I know that word is a fancy word, but it means that it leaves the reader something to think about. It stays with them. We don't ever want to write anything that goes in one ear and out the other. We want everything we write to stick with whoever's read it, because we've done such a good job, and we've poured our heart and our heart and soul into it, and we've shared what's in here and what's in here with our reader in a way that is unforgettable. And then also, this is important to note, because every assignment that I've given in writing workshop, you guys want to know what length I'm looking for. I'm not going to count your paragraphs, but you should know that a typical essay does generally have around 8 to 11 paragraphs in length. So just keep that in mind. All right, guys, I hope this gets us off to a good start as we begin our genre on writing, or our genre on essays. I can't wait to keep going this direction with you guys tomorrow. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you back here soon.